In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Jesus never died, and he was never crucified. God has told this to Muslims in the Quran. Rather, he will return with the Savior and the Promised One. He has only been hidden from sight. But if you would like to know the story of Jesus, the son of Mary, join me. In the tribe of the Bani Israel, there was a man named Imran and a wife named Hannah. After many years of marriage, they were not able to have children. One day, Hannah prayed to God and made a vow that if he granted them a son, she would dedicate that son to serve in the temple. God fulfilled Hannah's wish, and she became pregnant, and they were very happy. However, when their child was born, they found out it was a girl, and they were astonished at how they could dedicate their daughter to serve in the temple, as the temple only accepted boys. But there was no choice. Hannah had made a vow to God that if he granted her a child, she would dedicate him to the temple. They named their daughter Mary, and when she was 6 years old, they entrusted her to the temple, where Zechariah, one of the righteous prophets, took care of her upbringing. Mary worked in the temple every day and learned religious knowledge from Zechariah. Mary would spend hours in her room in worship. One day, Zechariah brought food to Mary, and when he entered the room, he saw a large tray beside her filled with various fruits. Zechariah asked, "Mary, you haven't gone outside? How did this food come here?" Mary replied, "This is a blessing from the merciful Lord, which the angels bring to me." And Zechariah realized the high status of Mary in the sight of God. One day, a message came from God for Mary, saying, "O Mary, God will grant you a son who will be one of the great prophets of God and among the righteous." Mary said, "O God, how can I have a child when no man has touched me or come near me?" A message from God came saying, "God makes all impossible things easy." And so it was that Mary became pregnant with Jesus. She kept her pregnancy hidden for all the days until the pains of childbirth overtook her. Then a message from God came, instructing her to go outside the city. She went outside and sat under a tree where the pains of childbirth overwhelmed her. She held onto the branch of the tree until Jesus was born. By God's permission, a spring began to flow beside Mary so she could wash herself, and the tree started to produce dates. By shaking the tree, dates fell for Mary, and she ate from them. After that, Mary feared the reproach of the people and wished for death until a message from God came to her. "Return to your people and take a vow of silence. When they protest against you, point to the child and he will respond." Mary, fearful and worried, embraced her child and returned to the city. The people, astonished and surprised to see her, began to reproach her. They said, "O Mary, your father was a good man, and your mother was not a woman of ill repute. How could you have done this?" Some said, "We must kill Mary for this sin, as she has acted against the law." They urged, "Mary, defend yourself. Why are you silent?" Mary pointed to the child, indicating that they should ask him. They shouted, "How can a newborn respond? Are you mocking us, Mary?" Suddenly, Jesus in Mary's arms began to speak, saying, "In the name of the merciful Lord, he created me from a chaste and righteous woman and made me one of the prophets to guide the people to the right path and to be kind and good to my mother." When everyone saw the newborn speaking, they were astonished and believed in this divine miracle. Jesus grew up and became one of the 4 great prophets who have a holy book. He called many people to guidance and monotheism. He healed the sick and, by God's permission, brought the dead back to life. He fashioned a bird from clay and breathed life into it, and the bird flew away. The people witnessing his miracles came to believe in him and loved him. He called people to kindness, compassion, and the fight against oppression, which made the king of the time sensitive to him and see his position as threatened. For this reason, he was in pursuit of Jesus to arrest, imprison, and kill him. Jesus had 12 companions who accompanied him. One of them resembled Jesus closely, And on the night they were supposed to gather, he betrayed Jesus and revealed the meeting place to the soldiers. That night, Jesus became aware of his betrayal through God. God has written in the Quran that on that night, we raised Jesus to the heavens, and the person who had spied on him was made to resemble Jesus. The soldiers captured him instead of Jesus, and the next morning, they tortured him and crucified him while he shouted, "I am not Jesus." But no one believed him. Thus, everyone thought that Jesus had been crucified and killed. But according to the Quran, Jesus is alive and will one day return to his people. After Jesus, some of his companions distorted his teachings and words, claiming that Jesus was the Son of God, while the Quran states that he was a prophet and servant of God who always worshipped God and fasted. Someone who is God cannot worship another. We Muslims believe that Jesus will one day return with our Imam Mahdi to save the world from the oppressors. Dear friends, in the next video, I will talk about the differences between Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. By supporting us and subscribing, you will motivate us to produce more content.